violence and crime increasing at an alarming rate, citizens are looking at ways to ensure that they're safe wherever they are. Well, it seems like there's some kind of solution to this problem. An application, or app as we call them, that gives South Africans a handle on security and fast response at their fingertips has been developed. Eyerus, as it's called, founded by GreenEye Consortium, is an internationally patented automated algorithm mobile app, that's a mouthful, designed to provide users with personal safety and security services in the palm of their hands. I'm joined in studio by the Executive Director Sibusiso Mbhele to tell us more. Sibusiso, thank you so much for your time this evening. I was reading up about this app. I just looked at my phone that was busy charging while I'm going about my job, because I charged it because I realized I was on a very low percentage. And as a woman, because I work at night, my biggest safety option is that I cannot have a phone with a low battery when I'm driving home, because this is Johannesburg after all, or South Africa, I should just say.
Yes, correct.
And I don't know what's going to happen. I mean, for instance, in the last few weeks, so many of the areas I drive through on my way home after 11 o'clock at night has got load shedding. So you're also traveling in the dark. And the list goes on because of the realities we live with in South Africa. That just everyday observance that your phone is, especially as a woman, your biggest safety tool, was that part of what led you to believe that an app such as this could be something that could change people's lives in a place like South Africa?
Yeah, good evening, Marcel. Thank you for having us, and good evening to your viewers as well. Yes, definitely, but this started a little bit back in 2014, when the Boko Haram took the girls in a place called Chibok in Nigeria. That coupled with the current social ills that happen in South Africa, be it hijacking, be it GBVNF, and all sorts and sorts of crime, we then came together as GreenEye Consortium to say, look, there has to be something that we do. You know, we've seen a lot of adverts, we've seen a lot of billboards, but there hasn't been quite a tangible solution that people can use to ensure that they are safe at all times. And then we sat and thought, but before we did that, we did a market validation, basically just a survey, just to find out what is it that people are going through. And one of the pertinent questions that we actually asked was, have you ever been a victim of crime? And if you have, did you report it to the police? We found that over 50% of the people that we did ask said no, they did not report it to the police because they did not have evidence, especially when it comes to GBV. So what we did was we created an app to made sure that it can capture live footage and sound and evidence and live stream it onto a cloud. And like you mentioned earlier, that you always have your phone in your hand. What more better than an automated algorithm in the form of an app that's constantly with you at all times?
Now, there are other security apps out there, but from what I've read about Eyerus is that there's quite a bit of innovation involved. For instance, you also don't, when you find yourself in a difficult situation, you don't want to make it obvious that you're trying to get help, because, you know, that's just the reality of finding yourself in a situation like that. For instance, you said you being able to use the camera. So with a touch of a button or of the screen, you can film exactly where you are depending on what the situation is. Or if you're a woman, for instance, the example that I think your company puts out there, if you're a woman in a metered ride taxi and you're starting to feel uncomfortable about what the driver is saying to you, all you need to do is to shake your phone, and that sends out a notification. Talk to us about how your team went about deciding what kind of innovation they could use to make the user experience better and more helpful for them in difficult and dangerous situations.
Yeah, definitely. So, what we did was during our going out to the market to find out what is it that really needs to be done. And that's when we really started putting together and piecing together all various scenarios that we are able to capture. And that's why we managed to get an international patent on the app. We knew we were onto something, so we put an international patent on the app. So basically there's no other app like it in the world. And hence that's why we also, just under 11 months later, which was like 3 nights ago, we won the MTN Business App of the Year award.
That's a big one.
Yeah, in the category of the best South African solution. So the app is very easy to use. It's got 4 main states, emulating a robot with an additional color of blue. Green means you're safe. whenever you feel uncomfortable, like in a metered cab or in a student in an institution of higher learning and the lecturer talks funny, all you simply do is you just simply shake your phone and live evidence of audio is then live streamed onto a secure cloud. If the situation does not de-escalate, what you can do is you can just simply go to the red next mode, which is red. On red alert mode, it switches on both your front and back camera, and then all of that evidence is gone to a live cloud.
I see one of the things it also does, and we're busy flashing that on our screen right now, is that it automatically detects if you've been drugged or unconscious. How is it able to do that?
Well, we have a functionality called check-in. On check-in, there are people that you load on the app as your guardian. So when you go red or blue, your guardians are alerted immediately that you're in trouble. So we also have a functionality called check-in. On check-in, you tell Eyerus where you're going at a particular day, night, time. Eyerus, please look after me between these periods. And then you can also set the intervals at which you'd like Eyerus to look after you. In the event whereby you do not check in with your unique password, then Eyerus starts alerting your guardians that you might potentially be in trouble. So in that case, we immediately know that there's problems and we don't find you in a suitcase after 4 days.
Okay, but in South Africa, I'm going to be tongue-in-cheek now. In an experience as somebody who's going out, perhaps you've gone to a party. You might not be checking in because perhaps you've had a little bit too much to drink and you might not have been drugged by somebody else. I'm being, I'm asking you tongue-in-cheek. I mean, your app is obviously very clever, but how does it tell the difference?
Well,
or is it able to?
The most important thing is that if you are going in an area where you know very well that you potentially will not be safe, rather let us panic about whether you are safe or not, than us having to tell very sad stories after a while. So
now, when you spoke earlier about how it will be able to film or collect information on the situation you find yourself in, you use the term evidence, which leads me to ask about your relationship with the SAPS. Now, I know at the moment, Eyerus connects users to your nearest private security, from what I understand.
Yes.
And that you have started the process of including or making official your connection to the SAPS as well as CPF's community policing forums. How far along are you in that process, A, to have them connected in terms of being able to respond to your users who will find themselves in trouble, A, and then B, where are we along the way in terms of if evidence is gathered via your app, whether it can be used in a prosecution that may follow? Yeah,
sure. In terms of the CPFs and SAPS, we are currently doing a proof of concept. As you understand that private security is usually concentrated in areas where there is a need for private security.
Or those that can afford it.
Or those that can afford, yes, definitely. So what happens is that in areas such as Alexandra or Soweto, for instance, there's not a huge concentration of private security. So what we are now doing is we are tapping into the CPFs to become the first line of response, because they are on the ground, they know exactly the area, they understand the dynamics. So that's the sort of concept in which we're going for. When it comes to evidence, the footage that we collect is untapped metadata, meaning it has not been edited. It has location stamps, time stamps, and all of that. So it's very, very, very credible information that we, data that we collect and we can supply through a certain process, court order and so forth, in the event whereby you need to use it in a court order. So definitely it is quite credible information.
And how far along are you in making official your relationship with the SAPS? What reaction have you had from them or from the Justice Ministry to try and make this relationship official?
I think conversations are ongoing. We've had conversations. They're aware of the app. They love how it works. It's just a case of us just locking in the necessary details, but we're definitely on the right track there.
So in terms of what's the next steps for Eyerus, what would that be and where can people find out more?
Yeah, we are available on all social media platforms, Eyerus_app, even on our website, www.eyerusapp.co.za. We just urge South Africans not to wait until they're in a situation which is bad before they download Eyerus and they're safe. Just download Eyerus now and keep safe.
Okay, we're going to leave it there. Thank you so much for your time. That's Sibusiso Mbhele telling us about a fascinating safety app called Eyerus. Unfortunately, we do live in a society where an app like this does sound like a great thing to have in your pocket, as it were, because it does go on your phone and does sound like it could help many people who find themselves in difficult and dangerous situations, especially us as women.